Mr. Speaker, permit me this opportunity to first commend the Prime Minister on the presentation of this resolution intended to grant support to micro, small and medium enterprise sector post-COVID-19, but more particularly to the Minister responsible for Commerce for her energy, passion and determination in an attempt to transform the business sector, the business environment here in this country. Mr. Speaker, these are timely interventions. Interventions that are targeted at the people, as we constantly say on this side. Interventions that are to redound to the benefit of the advancement of the country, and interventions that seek to open avenues for not just young people, but small business people and others who are committed to enhancing and developing themselves and being sustainable. But Mr. Speaker, listening to the presentations and studying the resolution which has been presented to us, it shows a particular trend over probably 3 or 4 decades in this country, where we have seen successive administrations, and I believe this government and former have more or less been trailblazers in some of the agencies which were established on the landscape of our country to facilitate and to enhance business development in this country. I didn't hear the contribution made by the parliamentary representative for VA4 South, but I'm told he sort of reflected on some of the many initiatives during his time, particularly after forming the government in 1997, the agencies which were put in place. And quickly to my mind, I recall the agency called TIPA, Trade Export Promotion Agency. I believe now it has mothballed into Export St. Lucia. SEDU, Small Enterprise Development Unit, and of course the Belgrave Fund, named after James Belgrave, that prominent St. Lucian gentleman who focused on young men and developing them and giving them a level of independence. But Mr. Speaker, what is most important at this time, what is really appealing to me at this time, is a new ethos, a new sensitivity among our people, a new energy, a new sort of emotion in as far as business is concerned. I believe, Mr. Speaker, in the last 12 or so months, I've seen a renewal of energy in business development. We've had a number of expos. Only on Saturday, the Ministry of Local Government, hosting some French visitors, hosted an exhibition on Constitution Park, a sort of expo, cultural and business expo. And again, you saw different individuals exposing their wares and their products in various forms. Some of them you wonder, were those made here? In fact, visiting one particular producer, I said, okay, you repackage this. But she said to me, no, it was done here in St. Lucia, and went on to indicate the process of producing those gummy bears which she had on sale. Another young lady said to me, she's so proud of the Ministry of Commerce for the level of support they gave her in helping her design her labels, produce the labels, revisit her packaging, and make them presentable sufficiently to be able to meet all of the standards to make it to the supermarket shelf. Mr. Speaker, there is new energy in self-development in this country. people are eager to do something for themselves, to be independent, and particularly the ladies. I see more ladies involved in that sort of activity as we speak. And so throughout the country, we see community after community after community hosting those expos, those expositions, showing what they can do and offering it to the general public. The minister herself has started with those business forums, intended again to sensitize the communities, advise them and sensitize them on this very facility which will be established to facilitate small, medium and micro enterprises so as to be able to access the necessary resources that will be needed for the businesses. But of course, that, Mr. Speaker, will be backed up by training. The time will come, Mr. Speaker, and I think it's already here, where we now need to think of how do we facilitate that expansion of manufacturing? How do we expand the small enterprises that are developing? And the build-up of confidence among our people, confidence in the government, confidence in the country, confident that there is hope ahead of them. And so, Mr. Speaker, I think we now need to ask ourselves, how do we provide a guaranteed market for those people who are producing? Right now, you have so many individuals who have gone into CMOS. What sort of arrangement are we going to put in place for them? And I believe that will be the next step of finding that vehicle that will provide for marketing and distribution, whether it is marketing and distribution in St. Lucia or in the wider region, sub and wider region, or into the international community. So just like bananas and the model of the banana industry when it was established, and that is, so you produce bananas as a farmer, you are certain that the cooperative, which was the St. Lucia Banana Association, would purchase those bananas with a ready market through geese who would market and distribute those bananas in the United Kingdom. And all you knew was that if you sold today, you'd receive your money in cash in your bank account or in your pocket probably a week or two later. And that is the assurances we need to give to those producers now, because as they continue to grow, they will be looking for those avenues. The other thing, Mr. Speaker, that we need to deal with, I heard one member speaking about loose leg and sitting down with loose leg to negotiate and to get a better deal. Mr. Speaker, that will be dealt with through the new electricity legislation. Okay? That will be this will be settled, because it is not about sitting down and discussing with loose leg. It is a regulatory environment. You cannot alter rates just so. You need to sit down. There's a regulatory authority, the National Utilities Regulatory Commission. They will then, based on the new Electricity Act, be able to negotiate and set the standards for loose leg and any other independent power producers under the new Electricity Act. So, Mr. Speaker, so we need to find a way to provide an avenue for those producers. But again, the guaranteed market. I believe, Mr. Speaker, and earlier on, the Prime Minister spoke of the belle fashions and majestic industries. I remember in my time, one of the proposals that I made regarding Majestics was to take on the old Majestic building at Bizet, at Vidbutel, transform it into an incubation center, and to provide an opportunity for small business people in that incubation center, and to let the small businesses start there and grow out of it into bigger environment. In that case, to give them a subsidized rate that will allow them to germinate and to grow before you transplant them into a bigger area. But again, Mr. Speaker, the other idea is, with all of those exhibitions and expos that are taking place around, isn't it time in this country for us to have probably a trade expo center where you can have some businesses instituted in that center who are operating on a daily basis, and an exhibition hall where we can put on those exhibitions as time goes on, every month or every week or every fortnight. So we give opportunity, we ventilate for our small business people an area where they can expose their products, their wares, etc., to the general public. So we have gotten to the point where I believe we are making some strides. We are making some headway, and we now need to think beyond. What do we do to give some level of guarantee? At a Lucian Trade Center, a St. Lucia Trade Center, an exhibition hall, incubation center, all in one, where you can give those small ones who are just coming up, who need that seed support, to find a little hole in the wall. Not too much space, the size of a tent, but giving them the opportunity to be able to expose themselves, have that opportunity to start their business, and as they grow, to move on. So I believe, Mr. Speaker, that this resolution is one which must be accepted and embraced as it is for what it is worth. I have heard on many occasions when the youth economy was launched that there are those who are saying, well, why launch another program? Why launch another program? The St. Lucia Development Bank is there. There's a window at the National Bank. Well, the St. Lucia Development Bank has a window for young entrepreneurs. But guess what? In the last 7 years, Mr. Speaker, thereabout, they've hardly been able to utilize the funds. The funds are sitting there, but because the terms and conditions for accessing the funds are so stringent, young people cannot accept the money. What this government has done, Mr. Speaker, is not just to launch a program. It's not to just launch a program without a framework, without the necessary regulation, without the necessary legislation. This government has launched a youth economy agency with legislation, dedicated legislation for young people. It is not a little window, and when you get there, you get the same treatment as if you're going to a commercial bank. It must be an environment which is encouraging, an environment which is enabling, an environment which provides the empowerment for young people to feel comfortable, to go into that agency, to be able to present his or her case, and to know that the conditions and the terms established in that agency allows them to access funding for their business. But all of this, Mr. Speaker, will come with a number of things. You create the architecture, you have to put in place the guidance and the counseling and the necessary financial support through the agency to make sure that it moves on. And the same thing applies to others who may not be youth, but in this case, for small, medium, and micro enterprises, to give them that added opportunity to be able to access, but to give them the guarantee of marketing and distribution, an opportunity if it means getting an incubator to start off that business, but also an opportunity for others who may not have a place to start up, but who can access the exhibition hall and to put their products on display. I believe, Mr. Speaker, we have a few opportunities. The very building that Majestics occupied may be one, which can be redeveloped into that sort of center. Next to it, I'd written to a former Prime Minister to say, let us buy the adjacent land and expand it so we can have one big exhibition hall. I wasn't responded to, but that would have worked in an environment where you can have this big exhibition hall and incubation center for the development of small business. The other one, Mr. Speaker, that is another opportunity. There are some tents that were invested into being rotting away somewhere. Wasted money, wasted resources, millions of dollars. Huge tents, just sitting there for nothing. Nothing is happening in them. Take them, locate them in a place that is accessible, and have it as the commencement of your exhibition hall or incubation center that gives opportunity to the people who need access to those facilities. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Prime Minister and to encourage the Minister for Commerce in their endeavors, and I fully support this resolution. I thank you.